Hello everybody, today what we're going to be talking about is a compressor. Now compressors are a wonderful tool that you can use on just about anything that makes noise if you do it properly. A lot of people get a compressor because somebody told them that they use it and then they try it out and it hurts more than it helps. But 9 times out of 10 that's user error because people weren't properly informed as to how to use the unit. So what we're going to do is start out with the buttons. Now this is a pretty much standard compressor. This one's made by Eureka by Presonus, and this one is pretty much just bare bones, which is the stuff you'll find on any compressor you'll buy. What we're going to start with is what the individual buttons do. Alright, let's start with the attack. Now what the attack is exactly what it says. This button determines how fast the compressor attacks the audio source. For instance, if I was running a bass, then I'm going to want the attack to start as soon as the bass comes through because I wanted to keep it under control. Now if I was running something else to where I wanted the attack to come in slowly, all I would have to do would be adjust the knob. But for most things you use a compressor for, I like to use a faster attack. The release right beside of it is also exactly what it says. That sets how fast the compressor lets go. So if I have a fast release and I have an audio spike come through on a bass, let's say my bass player got happy and hit a loud note, it's going to reach out real fast, grab it, and then let go real quick. Or if I'm running a bass that has on a slow song that's a lot of longer held out notes, what I'm going to do is adjust the release to where it releases as the note lets out, so it makes the compressor less obvious. Alright, let's go up to the threshold. Now what the threshold does is sets where you want the bass, or the compressor to kick in. The higher your threshold, the louder the signal will be able to come through before the compressor takes hold and brings it back down. The lower your threshold, the more it's going to choke the signal. Your ratio right here is what confuses a lot of people. On this one it goes from 0 to 10, 0 being infinite and 10 being pretty much wide open. Now if you run this all the way to 0, that's called an infinite ratio. Alright, now what that is a hard roll off. And if you look on your screen right now, I'm going to put up a graph to show you a visual representation of it. And this is a hard roll off on an infinite ratio. So what happens here is as soon as the audio level hits these dBs, whatever you have your threshold set at, it stops it and brings on a limiter effect, and it will not let the audio source go past that. Now if you put the ratio on up to about a 5, it's going to taper off a bit to where it's a lot more natural sounding. It'll let it go up past your threshold, but it'll ease it off as it goes. And if you set it on over to a 10, or as high as it goes, then what you have then is pretty much a straight line to where it'll let it go on up about as loud as the signal is, but it'll taper it off as it goes. Alright, right here's your gain. Now this is going to be found on 99% of the outboard gear that you have. What the gain is used for is if the signal that you have coming into your unit is not quite enough for what you want, you can take the gain and just boost it, or if it's too much, you can cut it. And basically all that is a volume after the effect. Alright. Now what we're going to do today is run a bass through a compressor just to give you a basic idea of what it is, how it works, and how to actually use it on something that everybody has in common. There's not a style of music that I know of that doesn't have a bass, so I figure it's a good place to start. Alright, now here's my bass. Alright, as you can tell by looking at the meter here, my bass player is extremely inconsistent on this project. And as a mixer, what that's going to do is make it to where I have to continuously ride the levels on the bass to make sure that they're even throughout the song, because I don't want a real loud note and then a real soft note. Well, that's where a compressor comes in very handy. It actually will take care of most of that for me to where I can focus on other things. Alright, so let's put our compressor in. Alright, now as you can see from right there, just the little bitty preset I did on it helped tremendously as far as the level of the bass. Now the first thing I'm going to do is take my compressor, and right now my VU meter is showing me how much it's cutting. And what I want it to do is when I hear it do its lowest and softest note, I want to see my compressor move just a little bit right there to about -3. That lets me know it's going to catch just enough on the low notes to be able to catch every note in the song, so all the notes sound the same, because you don't want some notes to sound compressed and some not. So the next thing I'm going to do, since my threshold is set, now if I wanted it to choke down a little more, all I would have to do would be bring my threshold down, just turn that knob, and it's going to cut it more and more. And if I turn it back to the right, it's going to let more and more through till my threshold is actually higher than my audio level is. So I'm going to bring that back about to where I had it. There we go. And you can actually see this is showing me how much it's cutting each note to make them more consistent. Alright, now your ratio. Remember I was saying about the shelves, if you set your ratio all the way to infinite, it's pretty hard. Now if you go all the way to 10, that is going to be a limiter. Now what's going to happen is that's going to sound really harsh and really compressed. There is such a term as sounding compressed, and people who know audio will pick up on it very quickly, so we don't want that. So what I'm going to do is bring it back to about 4 so it'll roll off a little bit, because I don't want it to be hitting too hard. Alright, now my attack on the bass. Now like I said earlier, my attack I like to be set as fast as possible on the bass, because I want it to catch it the second the note is hit, to keep it under control for my mix. But my release, I like to let go a little bit. On a song like this where the bass rings a little, I like to adjust my release to where you see the needle fall back slower as the bass is ringing. That way it lets it sound more natural, so that you don't have a spot that sounds really compressed in a note and then it's ringing open. Alright, and that is pretty much it. Now we can go through, listen one more time, and what we'll do is just listen. This is after we ran our compressor. It's nice and even. Switch over to the actual VU level. You can see it's staying around 3 to 0 dBs, which is very good. That brings it really within the realm of mixing to where I don't have to worry about it that much. And then here it is bypassed. Now this was the original, and you can see that it goes anywhere from -7 to through the red, and that makes a mixing nightmare, so we don't want that. So what we've done here today is we took a bass that would have driven you crazy in a mix or live on stage, and what we were able to do was bring it into a realm of reason to where we can set it and then pretty much forget about it and worry about more important things.